for this podcast comes from the Graduate School Development Center to contribute to your future success. The University of Texas at San Antonio. Visit utsa.edu/graduate to learn more or apply.
Blog Talk Radio.
You are now listening to Unpopular Popularity with Andrew Powell and John Stutsman here on New Media Central.
Alright, so I still got to fix up that intro. Still have yet to add Kelvin's name. But I promise that will be fixed up by next week. I completely forgot about it. But John, remind me to get that done sometime this week, so I get that fixed for next weekend's show. And I've already done this on the Andrew Powell Show, on my sports radio show, because it was addressing a sports character in the sports realm. But I'm going to do it here, too, because it has to do with the political issue, even though he claims it has nothing to do with politics, even though both sides are using it for political power, which makes it a political issue. And what I'm talking about is, if you don't know who Dan LeBatard is a radio host, a national radio host on ESPN Radio. And he saw one of my tweets. For one, I didn't even tag him in the tweet. So I don't know how he found it, or if he just typed in his name or whatever the case may be. But he went out of his way to address the tweet. Now, as far as what the tweet said, you will hear that in a minute, because Dan reads the tweet in his response to my tweet. And then I just want to address a few things in his statement, because he flipped the complete meaning of the tweet. He accused me of being a new listener, which is not the case. And he accused me of having, quote-unquote, race fatigue as far as too much talk about race. If you listen to the Andrew Powell Show, you understand that historically I talk about race a lot. That is one of the biggest things that I talk about on the show. Anything involved with race, I enjoy talking about. So it had nothing to do with that. But this is what Dan LeBatard said about me this past week on his show. And I just want to address a few things, and then we'll go from there. It's going to be an exciting night tonight. Kelvin's going to try to debunk some of these cases that I brought up last week. That's going to be interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on with Donald Trump's cabinet. I can't remember what else is on the list. You got the carrier deal. There's something about Keith Ellison that I want to talk about as well, who is the chairman of CNC. But this is what Dan LeBatard had said about me on his show this past week.
So this guy writes in this tweet, and I want to address this, and I think we'll leave it alone after this segment. I used to be a huge fan of LeBatard until he started pushing a leftist agenda that was based off of lies. It turned me off completely. And we've got more and more people are complaining about this, not just the politics of ESPN, but specifically me being leftist or liberal. Liberal has now become a smear. We're dangerously close to diverse becoming a smear. Diverse is something that you guys don't like so much. The word diverse triggers some stuff that you would think would be positive and not so much. But regardless, you say that I've got liberal leanings, that I'm far left. You're saying this the week that I'm talking about Castro, Fidel Castro, which as a Cuban would put me far right. I'm no one thing. But what you're really saying ultimately, I feel like, is we're talking race too much. And I don't feel like that one's politics, and I don't feel like that one's left or right. And it's certainly not new. We've been doing that one for 10 years, talking race. So it's not new, and that suggests to me that what's new here is you. And the objection, we don't talk politics around here. We talk pop culture. We talked yesterday about Donald Trump's tweet about flag burning. But generally speaking, we do not talk politics around here. If I were doing a political show, I would have marveled at the genius in throwing out that flag-burning tweet while making some appointments as a shield, as a flag to camouflage that you're making some appointments that might make the left cringe. Well, we don't talk politics around here. And so I'm wondering what you think is happening there. Is it new people to our show who just don't want race talk of any kind, that any amount of race talk is too much race talk,
right?
And then they file it under politics because that makes you feel better about it? You're filing that under politics because it makes you feel better than saying, hey, stop talking about black people being shot, or no matter how many sports people bring it up, no matter what Colin Kaepernick is doing. Like, if we're talking more about it recently, it's because someone in sports did something pretty seismic.
Might be encountering some sort of race fatigue because, yes, generally shows like ours are viewed as an escape, even though that's not really what we've done during the course of our history. But it is pretty much everywhere, given the current state of our nation. And there are plenty of progressive people that I talk to on a daily basis that are sort of exhibiting this sort of race fatigue.
Right. Okay, but that's not...
it's heavy.
Okay, understood.
And so they're coming to you and they're coming to us for some sort of escape from that.
And that I understand, but stop hiding behind accusing me and us of talking politics.
Right.
Because it's not what we do here. We talk pop culture. We talk about John Gruden and Jay Gruden playing hide and seek.
All right, so somebody tweets into the show. It says that we had talked, or I had addressed this earlier on my show. And the reason why I'm bringing this up again is because there's an entire different base over here. There's a lot of people who don't listen to my sports show that do listen to this show. And since it involves the political realm, that is why I am addressing it again to a new audience so I can try to get my point across. And we've already been in contact with Dan LeBatard's people. We're trying to set up either an interview on one of my shows or I'm coming on his show. All of that's being discussed. That information will be brought later, and that will be very interesting to see what happens with that. But here's a few things that I want to address with Dan LeBatard's little lecture, little speech, whatever you want to call it. This is the
more and more
thing.
people are complaining about this.
About 4 million people in 2016 and an average number of 600,000 subscribers per month is the number exact. I like to bring up statistics. Those are the amount of people who ESPN are losing. And it's because of pushing a leftist agenda. Numbers don't lie. You think I'm just accusing you of being a leftist. That's what you're doing.
You say that I've got liberal leanings, that I'm far left. You're saying this the week that I'm talking about Castro, Fidel Castro, which as a Cuban would put me far right. I'm no one thing.
Yes, you're absolutely correct, but I did not say that you were a liberal, and I did not say that you were a leftist. And by the way, we have to learn to start separating the terms liberal and leftist because there's a complete difference here. And maybe we'll get to that later on in the show. But what I was saying is that you were and still are pushing a leftist agenda that is based off of factual lies that have been proven over and over and over again. But you continue to push this black people are getting shot for no reason narrative, and we'll get to that a little bit later with Kelvin. But to me, it is nonsense, and it is factually not accurate. I like to go by the facts. So to me, when I look at the facts, none of it is accurate. You're pushing lies, at least in my opinion. You are pushing lies instead of factual evidence. Actually, I don't even think it's an opinion. I'm going by the facts. So it's facts. These are facts that I am speaking. But I'm sure Kelvin disagrees with me. But in my opinion, with Mr. LeBatard, how I view it as consistent lying, it's horrible, horrible, horrible journalism.
But what you're really saying, ultimately, I feel like, is we're talking race too much.
Historically, on the Andrew Powell show, I talk about race a lot. It has nothing to do with too much race fatigue. Absolutely nothing to do with it. I love talking race. Race is one of my favorite discussions to have in the political realm because it's amazing to see so many illogical people who are just factually inaccurate. And that is entertaining. I've told Kelvin this before. The mindset of the left entertains me because they're funny. Like John, I know you don't like the left. But some of their mindset and some of their logic is just funny, and you can laugh at it. Like it's absolutely funny. The next
and I don't feel like that one's politics, and I don't feel like that one's left or right, and it's certainly not new. We've been doing that one for 10 years, talking race. So it's not new, and that suggests to me that what's new here is you.
All right, so first off, it has nothing. It has everything to do with politics and everything to do with right or left. When the left is lying about racial issues in this country and spinning stories to make innocent cops and families look evil for political power, and you have the right trying to go by the facts to prevent a damn race war, it has everything to do with politics and everything to do with right or left. And as far as me being a new listener, assumptions make asses, Mr. LeBatard. And this case is no different. I'll probably listen to your show for a good 10 years now, easily. You were one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, why I got into sports journalism. You were literally the only sports radio show that I listened to because everybody else bores me. So it has nothing to do with me being a new listener. So, yeah. Next.
The objection, we don't talk politics around here. We talk pop culture.
All right,
we talked yesterday about Donald Trump's tweet about flag burning, but generally speaking, we do not talk politics around here. If I were doing a political show, I would have marveled at the genius in throwing out that flag-burning tweet while making some appointments as a shield, as a flag, the camouflage that you're making some appointments that might make the left cringe. Well, we don't talk politics around here.
All right, so I love how he says he doesn't talk about politics, but then talks about a political issue within this address speech about Donald Trump. And also, again, racial issues have turned into political issues. Did you not notice the DNC taking the side of Black Lives Matter? Did you not see the RNC taking the side of police officers? Every time you talk about race, you're talking about politics, especially when the left has been proven to push an agenda based off of lies. Remember when NBC got sued for spinning the George Zimmerman 911 call? Does anybody remember this? I truly think Dan has no idea what the hell he is doing when he walks into the political realm. He has no knowledge. He just blindly walks into a realm, and it is amazing because he constantly, consistently complains about sports gas bags, yet he's a political gas bag. He's saying stuff based off of feelings. And facts do not care about your feelings.
So I'm wondering what you think is happening there. Is it new people to our show who just don't want race talk of any kind, that any amount of race talk is too much race talk,
right?
And then they file it under politics because that makes you feel better about it? You're filing that under politics because it makes you feel better than saying, hey, stop talking about black people being shot, or no matter how many sports people bring it up, no matter what Colin Kaepernick is doing. Like, if we're talking more about it recently, it's because someone in sports did something pretty seismic.
Might be encountering some sort of race fatigue because, yes, generally shows like ours are viewed as an escape, even though that's not really what we've done during the course of our history. But it is pretty much everywhere, given the current state of our nation. And there are plenty of progressive people that I talk to on a daily basis that are sort of exhibiting this sort of race fatigue.
Right. Okay, but that's not...
it's heavy.
Okay, understood.
And so they're coming to you and they're coming to us for some sort of escape from that.
And that I understand, but stop hiding behind accusing me and us of talking politics.
Right.
Because it's not what we do here. We talk pop culture.
Okay, again, I'm not a new listener, and I do not mind talking about race. Again, yes, I am following it under politics because, as I explained previously, it is a political issue. When something is used for political power, that is a political issue, no longer just a social issue. As far as feeling better about it, absolutely, the truth makes me feel better. Go by the facts. It will help you feel better too. Instead of feeling bad for a group of people that are factually not being murdered because of nothing, like, come on, you do realize that even black people will tell you this, correct, Mr. LeBatard? There are black people out there who will tell you that this is nothing more than a leftist agenda. Now, it is a minority of black people, yes, I will give you that, but the fact that there's still black people saying that it's false tells you something. And we'll get to all of that next because Kelvin wants to debunk these cases of Black Lives Matter and police brutality, whatever you want to call it, that we discussed last week. But I had to address Dan LeBatard and all of that nonsense that was said. But we will get to Kelvin debunking all of these cases up next.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. The era of economic surrender will finally be over. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism.
They have gotten the political establishment and the media establishment to become pure, wanton henchmen of totalitarianism.
If you were a foreign power looking to weaken America, you couldn't do better than Hillary Clinton's economic agenda.
I think what the Chinese have done is really smart.
The skyscrapers went up in Beijing and many other cities around the world, while the factories and neighborhoods crumbled right here in Detroit.
It's all training us to accept less, lowering expectations, a post-industrial world, a new dark age. That's what the UN Biological Diversity Assessment 1996 calls for.
When we abandoned the policy of America first, we started rebuilding other countries instead of our own.
Not a world, Winston, that gets more beautiful and more technological and stronger. A world that gets uglier and stupider and more stunted.
That the government should allow Hillary Clinton to become president of the United States.
I voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, I voted for Hillary. I guess I have to since I'm working for her as well.
You want an image of the future, Winston? It's a boot stomping on a human face forever.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Women are discriminated against in all of these countries she took money against. Gays and lesbians are either executed or punished severely. They're mistreated. She claims to be their champion.
Don't look at me, Winston, and see the black circles around my eyes and see how ugly and weak I am, expressing myself and dying, that I torture people 18 hours a day, and I have a horrible life. That's the beauty of the satanic evil of the priest of power, ripping apart humanity. We're here to hurt humans. We're here to suck your guts out.
Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism.
Yo, you want sushi? I got sushi. I got the best sushi. This area's dry, man. You know that. I know that. Ain't nobody selling but me. I got tuna. I got salmon. I got sweet shrimp. I got the finest sashimi this area has seen in years. You need me and I need you. Let's make this work. You buy some sashimi, I'll throw in some rice paper, man. Totally free. Gratis. I got everything. Even California rolls, baby.
You wouldn't buy your sushi from this guy. So why would you buy your marijuana from him? MarijuanaDoctors.com is the only service that connects patients with real doctors for medical marijuana recommendations. Simple, confidential, safe. Visit MarijuanaDoctors.com or call 1-866-996-9333. That's MarijuanaDoctors.com, 1-866-996-9333. Book your appointment today.
I have not only seen but lived the marvels of what historians have called the American century. For while I take inspiration from the past, like most Americans, I live for the future. For just a few minutes, I hope you will let me talk about a country that is forever young. Fondest hope for each one of you, and especially for the young people here, that you will love your country not for her power or wealth, but for her selflessness and idealism. May each of you have the heart to conceive, the understanding to direct, and the hand to execute works that will make the world a little better for your having been here. Renew our pledge to day by day, person by person, make our country and the world a better place to live. When the nations of the world turn to us and say, America, you are the model of freedom and prosperity, we can turn to them and say, you ain't seen nothing yet.
now listening to Unpopular Popularity with Andrew Powell and John Stutsman here on New Media Central.
All right, so Kelvin wants to go ahead and debunk all of these cases. Well, not every single case, but a number of these 30 cases that was brought up last week that we discussed. So that's what we're going to go ahead and hop into next, because me and John are very interested to see what Kelvin has to say about this. And John gave Kelvin a challenge that Kelvin, he wants to see Kelvin change John's mind on at least one of these cases. Just one. That's all it takes. So, Kelvin, the floor is yours.
All right, man. Okay, so I didn't do all 30 or whatever number it was that you listed last week because I figured that would take too long. But I did get 8, and I just researched them in the past, 2 hours or so I don't have the best articulated argument, but I got most of the important facts out there. So, anyway, we'll start with Philando Castile. Said on, let's see. It said that he was reported to have a broken taillight, and they had apparently had someone that looked like him that was wanted for some crime. So they took it under their
armed robbery. Armed robbery. You cannot just say some crime. It was armed robbery.
But no, you can too, because was it him or was it somebody that looked like him? So I can just pull over whoever I want to because there's a crime in the area. That makes sense, right? So this guy, he could have just been sitting at home reading a book. It doesn't matter. So anyway, this guy, apparently, you want to bring up backgrounds for most people, but he was a straight A student. He worked with children growing up through high school, trying to give them a role model figure. He worked in a public school as a cafeteria worker. He was a supervisor. To even work in a school where you have to interact with students in the state of Minnesota, they do background checks on you. So this guy's record was clean. Only thing he had was like minor tickets for driving issues. But in this case, he wasn't even driving. He was in the passenger seat. So, anywho, it said that, let's see, what did I have? Okay, so he was pulled over. The police officer came to the window, asked him for his license, registration, and proof of insurance, as we're all trained to do as police officers. When he reached into his pocket to get his license, which most people keep in their wallet, the officer unloaded on him for some reason. And, go figure, this weapon wasn't even touched because the ambulance workers who pulled him out of the car, they went through his pockets and found the weapon still in there. And there was not even a round in the chamber. And also, this was a legally obtained firearm. He owned this. He had a permit to own this. So basically what I'm seeing is he had committed no crimes because even the taillight wasn't proved. So he had committed no crimes, was pulled over, was shot when he started to comply with the officer's request to give him his license. I don't understand how this is okay. And the officer didn't even.
Well, it's not okay. That's why.
Approved.
Well, hold on. Well, hold on. It's not okay. That's why the cop got fired and got charged with manslaughter. You say justice doesn't happen. Well, there you go. He got charged with manslaughter.
He got charged with manslaughter, but it's taken a year now, and he still hasn't been to court. Like they have not finally got the verdict on that yet. And in most cases, it's just waived off.
He still lost a career. He lost everything.
We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes because usually that isn't the case. Usually they can go to any other precinct and just get a job right off the bat. You've seen that in many other cases. And actually,
you can't say usually without bringing facts.
What?
Just saying, you can't say usually if you're not going to bring facts. That doesn't apply to this case.
What doesn't? Usually
other cases. You can't bring in other cases. We're just trying to debunk this one.
Well, considering he was just charged 2 weeks ago, it's impossible to sit here and say what is going to happen to him in the future or whether he'll get another job. 2 weeks is not enough time. He hasn't even been brought to court for the charge that was brought against him. So it's way too premature to claim any of that. So I'm saying the facts aren't even there.
You just argued my point.
The only fact is this man is dead, and the officer's allowed to stand trial, a living, breathing person, while the other guy can't even defend himself because he died in his car. How ridiculous, sitting in the passenger seat. That's absurd.
nothing to do
There's
with
no way
race.
that's okay. I'm just saying he
That's-
got pulled over for an accused crime that he was not even guilty of.
Yeah, but
He
why
had
is he
a
reaching
weapon
for
that-
something? But Kelvin, why is he
Because
reaching
he was
for
asked
something?
to get his license. Because he was
But-
asked to get
but
his
with a
license.
gun,
Easy.
Is this factually accurate? Can we get a John? Look this up. As a
I
fact
don't
check.
think
That's
this is
factually accurate.
I don't think so. I'm going to try to look this up here. I
So
don't
when
think
an officer pulls over, well, coming from my experiences of 5 years from being a military police, when we pull someone over for any kind of traffic violation whatsoever, we're going to ask for their license, registration, proof of insurance. When they articulate to us that they have a weapon,
Yeah, but I don't think that
we ask
happened.
for their-
I don't think that happened though because the cop was pointing a gun at him. I don't believe that transaction had happened.
Well, I mean, why would you pull a gun? The weapon was still in his pocket. The only
Because
reason
he thought that he was an armed robbery suspect.
Okay.
No,
you want to know
the
how it
point is,
happened?
why would you assume that he was armed if you didn't see
All right,
a
so
weapon?
we got a fact
and he didn't
check.
because the weapon was still in his pocket. The only way
We
he
got a
would know
fact
he
check
had a
from
weapon.
John.
Well, the only
Here's
way
the
he
deal.
would know that he was armed was if the person had told him that he had a weapon. That's the only way. And in which case, the officer would ask for the permit. So he would ask for the license, registration, proof of insurance, and the weapon permit to prove that he was legally supposed to be having that weapon. So,
And
of
here's
course,
the
he would
facts
reach
about
for
this.
his license and his permit. Go ahead.
No. Here's the facts on this, though. Here's what really happened, okay? And
Sure.
and you're sort of correct, but you're missing a couple key things here. Okay, so the thing is when he was pulled over, he did tell the police officer he was armed and that he had a permit and that it was legal. He told the police officer, it's in my pocket right here. So the police officer asks him for his all his paperwork, his permit and whatever, and he reaches. The guy reached. I get maybe his license was in that pocket. That's fine, but he should have told the police officer, hey, the license is in the pocket that the gun's in. But he didn't. Instead, he just reached for the pocket that the gun was in and didn't tell the officer why he reached in that pocket.
But you mean
So
the
the
one
cop
that
got
was
what he
his
deserved.
license?
The cop got what he deserved. He was in the wrong. The cop was in the wrong, and he got what he deserved.
Not yet.
Absolutely.
Not yet.
Yes.
No, not yet.
True.
No, not yet.
But the
He hasn't
guy,
went to court yet.
the Castile guy was also, he should have told the police officer, hey, my license that you just asked me for is in the very same pocket that the gun is in that I told you about. And he didn't tell the police officer that. He just reached in that pocket.
But listen, the officer asked for something from him and then decided to shoot him when this person reached for the thing that he asked him for. You don't see
in
how
the
that's
pocket that had
wrong?
the gun in it. In the
But
pocket that he
just
didn't
asked
tell
him.
the officer. No.
How do you know?
No, Kelvin. He was reaching in the pocket that he told the police officer the gun was in. Of course, I'm going to be like, okay, this guy's reaching for the gun he just told me about. He just told me the gun was in this pocket.
Why would he do that?
Because there's idiots out there that would do that. That's
well, he's already established.
But John, if he told the cop that he had a gun, the cop already knows the cop's first reaction should not be to shoot him. The cop should be charged for murder and sent to jail. The cop should be sent to jail.
The cop did not shoot.
The cop should be sent to jail. The cop needs to go to jail.
No. Can I finish? And I'm not going to argue that. He definitely needs something needs to be done. I'm not going to argue that. But the thing is that the cop did not shoot until the guy, the Castile guy,
so how did he die?
Reached into the pocket that had the gun in it.
He was following an order by the police officer.
He told him he had a gun.
I understand
Listen,
that.
if I'm
going
going
to pull over police, you need to explain anything. You need to explain your actions that aren't typical. The guy should have said,
definitely not.
Officer, I will get you. I will give you this. But just so you know, my paperwork is in the same pocket as the gun, so you might want to disarm me first. And that's how it's supposed to go.
Look, the way you were describing this is this man was guilty until proven innocent, but he was not allowed to prove his innocence. So from every aspect, this is wrong. Okay? If he told him how he had a weapon.
Wait. I'm not saying it's right, but the guy was stupid. The guy that got pulled over was stupid. I'm not saying it was
he
right.
He was stupid for being shot.
He told him he had a gun. He told him he had a gun. How was that stupid?
He should have told the police officer, hey, the permit, my license is in the same pocket as the gun. You need to disarm
John,
me
listen.
so that I can get the paperwork. That's
John,
that's how it's supposed to go. You don't just reach into the pocket that has a gun in it.
If I wanted to kill a police officer, why in the world would I tell him that I had a weapon on me to begin with? Why would I do that?
That's because you're an intelligent, normal, decent human being.
No,
a lot of
this
people
is
are
any
not normal,
person.
intelligent,
This is
decent
any
human
person.
beings.
Any person. Why would he tell him he had a gun if he planned on shooting him with it? Why wouldn't he have the gun out prior to the police officer getting to his window?
I guarantee you there's a case out there.
John, check this out. If he had intentions of shooting the cop, he would have not told the cop that he had a gun. Let's be honest.
It doesn't have to do. But we're not talking about his intentions. We're talking about his responsibility as a registered gun owner. There is a difference.
He told the cop that he had a gun. How can you get more responsible with that?
I know. And here's the thing. You guys need to look this up because I don't think any of you guys
are you
looked
serious?
This up. Yes. Here's the thing. If you you told the police you have a gun and it's legal and it's registered and everything, you need and
John,
you have to
what are you
reach somewhere
defending?
near the gun.
What
No,
are you defending? You're not defending anything.
Wait. Yes, I am. Just listen to me. Let me finish. If you are a gun owner, legal gun owner, and you've told a police officer, I have a gun, it's registered, it's on me, it's legal, everything, okay? And you have to reach somewhere near that weapon to get something that the officer has requested of you, you need to tell the officer. And this is absolutely part of responsible gun ownership.
All right.
Absolutely possible.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
You're not going to make side with any
let's
of these.
move on. Let's move on to the next one because John is blatantly over here defending murder. I mean, this is incredible right here.
No.
Kelvin, what is the next one? Go ahead to the next case.
Okay, so the next one was Alton Sterling, and this was the gentleman who was standing outside of the convenience store selling CDs, and apparently he had a pretty long rap sheet, and he was armed, and apparently the weapon wasn't even legally obtained, so he shouldn't have had the weapon. But from my perspective, this guy, he was standing outside the store selling CDs. The store owner was totally okay with that and was even outside during the altercation. So he had no issues with the man outside of his store, outside of his business, trying to sell CDs. The officers made contact with him. It was 2-1. They were totally outmanning him, out-weaponing him, out everything, right? There was no reason for them to fire on him after tasing him and after wrestling him to the ground where he's on his freaking face. That doesn't make any sense to me. But the thing is, oh, boy. How do I even go? Okay, so the biggest thing to me was these officers, they fired on him, right, and they killed him right there. But the thing is, if you watch the tail end of that video, you can see the second officer pull the weapon out of his pocket. And I'm thinking, why would you have shot him if the weapon wasn't drawn and in a threatening position? Why did you feel threatened for your life if his weapon wasn't even out? Why is that? I don't quite understand that. So the fact that video evidence shows that officer reach into this dead man's pocket to pull this weapon out was a huge, huge red flag to me. And let's see, another thing, the coroner.
Yeah, but you do realize that there was an original 911 call that started this whole thing to begin with, to say that was saying that he was threatening a homeless man with a gun. That's what started.
Right,
this whole
I did hear that, but how did the store owner not see this? Store owner was there the entire time and could not corroborate any of that. So how does that work?
Then who called the cops? Somebody called the cops.
Well, my thing is, why do you take a homeless man's word over both the store owner and the person videoing it? Why
did the homeless man call the cops?
I don't know. I don't know who called the cops, but I know that the store owner who was there on the scene and the person recording the video did not corroborate that information whatsoever. Said he was strictly selling CDs. So my point is,
I don't believe that was the case. That's not true about the facts. There was a 911 call that said that he was threatening a homeless man with a gun.
Right. I got that. I got that. But they also said Tamir Rice was threatening people with guns. He was 12 years old.
He was. Yeah, so he also had his face covered and a hoodie on.
It does not matter what he's wearing. That's absurd. He's 12 years old.
He was pointing a gun at people without the orange tip. What do you expect is going to happen?
Would you listen? You can't just take people's words as fact. If somebody calls in a bomb threat, are you listening? You can't just take people's words as facts without any corroboration whatsoever. The person owning the business, the store owner, could not corroborate this information. Neither could the person standing outside with the cell phone recording the video. Those people were there the entire time. How is it that this homeless man, who is, I'm going to quotation him because I've not read anything about him past that. So this homeless man, quotations, claimed that he was waving a gun, but nobody else that was proven to be there could do such a thing. Why do you believe this imaginary person, and you don't believe these people who actually own the store? How is that? I don't quite understand your logic.
What factual evidence
it's not an
can you
imaginary
provide
person,
to me?
it's a real person.
Wait a minute. Wait. What factual evidence can you provide to me that this was an imaginary person?
Well, there's a video of the store owner saying that he was not outside waving his weapon at anyone. So there's actual video from the store owner.
All right, John, go fact check this. Go fact check.
Okay, so here's what I've already been looking stuff up while you guys have been talking.
Look, his name is Abdullah Muflahi. So if you need to look him up, that's his name.
I've already been checking this out while you guys have been talking. Here's the deal with, we're talking about Alton Sterling, right? Okay, so the whole thing, the number one, let me just talk to you from experience. I've worked in a convenience store before. Like, there's no way you can keep up with what the hell's going on outside the store. You can't even keep up with what's going on in the store, let alone what's going on outside. So, of course, the person running the store is not going to be able to say much about it because they're not going to know. Trust me, been there, done that a bunch of times. You just can't do it. So that's number one, and that's from personal experience. Number two, it really doesn't, the homeless guy doesn't matter, but, of course, he's not an imaginary person. That's kind of offensive from coming from someone that's a liberal. That blows me away. But
why?
Because just because you're homeless doesn't mean you don't know what you're talking about. You don't have two eyes that you can see with, and things aren't.
I didn't say
real.
that. I said we couldn't prove. I said that we've not heard anything past this about this said homeless person. So I'm questioning the even factual evidence of him existing. There are two people that said that this guy did not wave a gun, and there's one person who nobody has seen afterwards that was waving a gun.
John, look up. John, look up where the 911. John, look up where the 911 call came from, because Kelvin's making it seem that this was imaginary stuff, that it didn't really happen. So look up who called 911. Who called 911? Look that up.
Hold on. I'm not finished. Let me finish with my analysis here, okay? I'm not finished at all. So here's one of the things. One of the groups that was filming this going on, one of the films that you guys seen that makes the cops kind of look bad, was purposely filmed by a group called Stop the Killing, which actively listens to police scanners and films crimes in progress to make that slant. And they're known to make things look how they didn't really come out. And the facts is when the cops were doing this guy, the guy was resisting. He wouldn't stop. When they said stop, they tased him. He was throwing a fit, so they had to get on top of the guy. One of the cops got on top of him and tried to get him down and cuff him. The other cop said, "Hey, he's reaching for his gun." Alton, I keep wanting to say Alton Towers. Alton Sterling was reaching for his gun, and that's when it happened. He didn't get the gun all the way out, no, but he was reaching for it, and that's enough right there. That is enough right there.
Okay, but Kelvin kind of brought up a point, because I have fact checked this, and it was the homeless man who made the 911 call. Kelvin kind of brings up a point. I'm not a self-proclaimed liberal anymore. Facts don't care about your feelings. I'm just going to tell how it is. A homeless man is definitely less credible to me, and this story is a lot less credible now that a homeless man had called 911 to begin with. I'm just being honest with you. Because homeless people have nothing.
But I will take his word, because I've been in this position where there was someone that was probably homeless involved. I would take the word, and I told the police officer this myself, take the word over that guy over me, because I'm paying attention to what's going on inside the store, and that's hard enough. So I can tell you right now, I would take the homeless guy's word over the guy that was in the gas station working, and I would take it over the group that purposely goes around and tries to make these things.
Because it fits your agenda? Because it fits your agenda?
But that fits their agenda too. You see what I'm saying?
Because
the only thing you can go on. So the only thing you can go on is what the officers say, because then you've eliminated everybody's.
I mean, that's pretty convenient. If that's the case, then why don't they just go ahead and kill everybody else? That way they have nobody to defend themselves against, right? That would be perfect. That just justifies police killing.
No, not at all. I'm just saying.
That's what you're telling me.
If it fits the agenda, you can't trust the eyes of the person in the convenience store. No fault of theirs.
Okay.
You can't credibly trust. It is not a fault of theirs. Trust me.
So
you can't trust.
Are worthless.
You can't trust the homeless man, no matter what his case may be. Why he's homeless, nothing. We're not going to even trust him. No background on him. We're not going to trust him. Then you also cannot trust the group that purposely goes out and is known to go out and film things in a way that makes people look bad when they're really not.
So you can't trust any witnesses.
The only thing you can go to is the police officers themselves and what happens between them two and the guy.
So what you're saying is you cannot trust any witnesses except for people who committed the murder themselves, who obviously will not tell on themselves.
If you can't trust the homeless guy, then you can't trust the biased people.
I'm not questioning the homeless man. But look, I'm not questioning the homeless man's honesty. I'm questioning whether he exists or not, because I haven't heard him before. I've not heard of him after this incident at all.
I do believe there was a homeless man involved in this, because the 911 call proves this. But I'm going to be, unlike Kelvin, I'm going to say absolutely I'm questioning his honesty. Absolutely.
I would not. Just because you're homeless does not mean you're crazy. But
homeless people have nothing to lose. I never called them crazy. I'm not saying that they're crazy. I'm saying that they have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Well, one more perspective before I move on. One more perspective from the cashier or the store owner's perspective. If he did not see the incident at all, like you're saying that you wouldn't be able to if you were the store owner, then why would he make a comment in either direction about it? Why wouldn't he just say,
because you have to.
I wasn't able to? Why would you have to?
You have to.
Why?
I've been in this situation before. I've had similar, there wasn't a death involved, but similar type of setup. Something was going on outside. I was inside running the store. They have to come to you. They have to get a statement from you because you're the one that's representing the company.
No, of course they have to get a statement, but they do not have to give a statement that's not factual. They have to tell the truth. So if he didn't see what happened, he can't sit there and say, oh, yeah, this man's completely innocent. I'm going to put my word out there on that.
But from what I've found here, that's not what the owner said. The owner said it's from what I can tell, the guy didn't.
We got to move on. We got to move on. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 4 cases this week, 4 cases next week, and then we'll continue from there. We'll get Kelvin to do all 30, and we'll break down 4 cases per week, just to make it more fun. Plus, I don't want to spend the whole show talking about this. So Kelvin's going to go ahead and do 2 more cases.
And even though I'm not going to be here this week, Kelvin, I promise I'll listen to the show so I can tell you whether you've swayed me.
I mean, I know I'm not going to, because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and you're not interested.
I tell you one thing,
but
I'm having a ball.
Kelvin, do you? Kelvin, would you agree with me throughout this entire thing so far? Is I have went by the facts and I have not been biased. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Okay, so far, yes.
Everything I said is factual as well, so.
No, no, you were defending murder.
What if I said that's not factual?
All right, let's move on. Let's go to the third one. Kelvin, go ahead and go on with the third.
Exactly. Point proven.
Okay, so the third one is a gentleman named Jamar Clark. This one is the one where he was at a party. Is that right? Where he was at a party and his girlfriend had some sort of need for medical attention.
I believe so. Yeah.
And
I don't know.
Anyway,
you're correct.
There was a scuffle that ensued between him and the police officers, and actually it was between quite a few other people too. So anyway, the police had stopped this interaction, and from all of the witnesses on scene, like every single one of them, said that the police shot him in the head after he was handcuffed. And I mean every one of them. I haven't found a single witness that said otherwise. So that's kind of, I'm not saying that it's one way or the other, but I'm saying it's starting to kind of put a question mark over my head when you can't find a single witness out of a party setting that will say anything to the contrary. Let's see, what else? Another thing that I found kind of suspicious was out of the 5+ officers there, nobody had a body camera, and not one of the dash cameras caught the incident either of all of their vehicles. And I'm like, that's kind of questionable. But then you can go even further. They had a local Elks Lodge, I believe it was across the street or somewhere close by, that had a camera pointed in that direction. And the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension like specifically told them not to release the video to the public. And I'm thinking, if this video would clear the officers, why not release it? Because at the time there were protests around this murder. So if you could nip that in the bud and just be like, hey, here's video showing that these officers acted in defense of their lives, why wouldn't you go ahead and release that? That just kind of blows my mind. And what else did I get? Oh, another thing that I found to be a little questionable, because I don't want to take a side on this one. It's hard for me to find information in time, but the questionable part was the Hennepin County Attorney, Mike Freeman, would not let the case be presented to a grand jury to see if they thought it was if the officer should be charged. Instead, he decided on his own and decided that in the future, officer-involved shootings will not be brought before a grand jury either. So he changed the precedent for all officer-involved shootings, and, you know, at that point and in the future. And I was just like, if this was so cut and dry, why wouldn't you just release the tapes? Why wouldn't you bring it in front of a grand jury? Why wouldn't you do that? That would ease the public dissent. Yeah, that would ease public dissent, in my opinion.
John, you got to be honest here. I mean, there is DNA evidence to support. But wait a minute. Here's the thing. There's DNA evidence to show that Jamar Clark tried to go for the officer's gun. If it's that simple, why not just release the video? It puts a question mark over my head as well. We have to be honest.
Just from what you guys have I have not heard this case. I don't know anything about this case. This is my first time ever hearing anything about this case. So I don't really I can't concede it because I don't know. Now, where'd you guys? You said the name was Jamal Clark.
Jamar Clark. M-A-R. Yep.
Jamar Clark. Okay. I mean, I can certainly research it and see, but we wouldn't have time to do that. So I don't know. It certainly sounds questionable, but there was not anything that made me sway one way or the other. I can't concede it, but certainly there's things that sound questionable.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I said, I haven't heard this one.
Suspect. So we're gonna have to do more research because this is the first time that I've heard about them not releasing videos. I'm gonna have to do more research on that myself. So we'll continue that at a later date. Kelvin, go ahead and go on with the last one.
Okay, the last one, Corey Jones. This was a gentleman who had a white SUV, broke down in the middle of the road, and the police officers came, and he ended up getting shot and killed on the scene. It said originally that the officer that approached him was in plain clothes and had an unmarked vehicle and did not identify himself. So basically, this was an area of high crime. His car broke down. A random guy, stranger, came up to him, and he didn't know who it was. So I'd imagine he was probably a little bit on
Who is it for again?
Let's see, Corey Jones.
Corey Jones. Okay, continue.
Okay, so anyway, this guy was unmarked car, and he was in plain clothes. He did not identify himself as a police officer. He just approached this guy whose car broke down in a dangerous area. So the reason that the police was even there was because he was supposed to be on a stakeout in a parking lot because there were vehicle thefts in that parking lot. But he left that stakeout on his own accord without permission from his supervisor as he was supposed to have. And he approached this man without identifying himself in appearance or verbally. So, you know, this kind of sets the tone for it. But let's see. No body camera, no dashboard camera. After Corey Jones was killed, it said Officer Raja ended up being fired that following November because of the shooting. So let's see. A police report of the incident said that the officer approached Corey Jones while unmarked again in a tactically unsound, unsafe, and grossly negligent manner. Okay, so I specifically remember, from last week, you said that he was fired, therefore justice was served. But I'm saying no. He murdered someone and just got a new job. Far from justice, in my opinion. If someone were to shoot you, I would hope that they would get more punishment than just losing a job that they just got recently anyway. You see what I'm saying? Anybody got any
let me...
Here's the thing.
Wait a minute. Wait. I want to say something real quick. So I'm just now pulling it up on my list because there's so many different cases of these. It's hard to keep.
There is.
But Corey Jones, his car was broke down. It was a horrible situation. His firearm was.
Raja's in prison.
But it's also dark, 3:15 a.m. in the morning. The cop was originally checking out the abandoned car, and the armed subject that he didn't know comes out of nowhere. Had nothing to do with him being black. He was in. Another narrative pushed by the media is racist. That's what I had wrote in that post, and then I did continue to say, but the cop was fired, so justice was served. So if the cop was fired, because I do agree with you, the cop was wrong in this situation, what justice do you want served exactly?
I mean, I would like for the guy to go to jail because he essentially took a man's life. How long was his sentence?
No, here's the thing, and this is still ongoing. But on June 1st, just this past June, so it's pretty fresh, Raja was charged with manslaughter and attempted murder. He's currently out on bond, but a condition of that bond, while I guess they get everything done, set up, I don't even know how that part works. But one of the conditions is that there's a pretrial release. GPS monitoring, he had to surrender his passport, he had to surrender everything. He can't, so that's why he's out pre-trial.
Well, that's standard.
But he's been charged.
Standard procedure. Yeah, that's standard procedure. Taking a passport and all that. That's standard.
That's good. Yeah. But no, he has definitely been charged. And there's also just in July, the family of Corey Jones filed a wrongful death lawsuit. So that's ongoing too, and that would just happen. So there are things happening to this guy. Justice is being served. But my thing is, the cop is obviously wrong. Cop is obviously in the wrong here.
We're gonna go ahead and get off of this. We're gonna bring Kelvin's gonna bring 4 new cases to us next week. It'll be just me and him. But John, I'm sure will eventually get to respond because it's John, and we all know how John is.
I won't.
But up next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the recent hiring of Elaine Chao for President Donald Trump or President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet, and the rumors that are surrounding Sarah Palin and Mitt Romney. They could possibly be included in Trump's cabinet. Sarah Palin and Mitt Romney, God, that would be a hell of a disaster.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. The era of economic surrender will finally be over. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism.
They have gotten the political establishment and the media establishment to become pure, wanton henchmen of totalitarianism.
If you were a foreign power looking to weaken America, you couldn't do better than Hillary Clinton's economic agenda.
I think what the Chinese have done is really smart.
The skyscrapers went up in Beijing and many other cities around the world, while the factories and neighborhoods crumbled right here in Detroit.
It's all training us to accept less, lowering expectations, a post-industrial world, a new dark age. That's what the UN Biological Diversity Assessment 1996 calls for.
When we abandoned the policy of America first, we started rebuilding other countries instead of our own.
Not a world, Winston, that gets more beautiful and more technological and stronger. A world that gets uglier and stupider and more stunted.
That the government should allow Hillary Clinton to become president of the United States.
I voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, I voted for Hillary. I guess I have to since I'm working for her as well.
You want an image of the future, Winston? It's a boot stomping on the human face forever.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Women are treated, discriminated against in all of these countries she took money against. Gays and lesbians are either executed or punished severely. They're mistreated. She claims to be their champion.
Don't look at me, Winston, and see the black circles around my eyes and see how ugly and weak I am, expressing myself and dying, that I torture people 18 hours a day, that I have a horrible life. That's the beauty of the satanic evil of the priest of power, ripping apart humanity. We're here to hurt humans. We're here to suck your guts out.
Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism.
Yo, you want sushi? I got sushi. I got the best sushi. This area's dry, man. You know that. I know that. Ain't nobody selling but me. I got tuna. I got salmon. I got sweet shrimp. I got the finest sashimi this area has seen in years. You need me and I need you. Let's make this work. You buy some sashimi, I'll throw in some rice paper, man. Totally free. Gratis. I got everything. Even California rolls, baby.
You wouldn't buy your sushi from this guy, so why would you buy your marijuana from him? MarijuanaDoctors.com is the only service that connects patients with real doctors for medical marijuana recommendations. Simple, confidential, safe. Visit MarijuanaDoctors.com or call 1-866-996-9333. That's MarijuanaDoctors.com, 1-866-996-9333. Book your appointment today.
I have not only seen but lived the marvels of what historians have called the American century. For while I take inspiration from the past, like most Americans, I live for the future. For just a few minutes, I hope you will let me talk about a country that is forever young. Fondest hope for each one of you, and especially for the young people here, that you will love your country not for her power or wealth, but for her selflessness and idealism. May each of you have the heart to conceive, the understanding to direct, and the hand to execute works that will make the world a little better for your having been here. Renew our pledge to day by day, person by person, make our country and the world a better place to live. When the nations of the world turn to us and say, America, you are the model of freedom and prosperity, we can turn to them and say, you ain't seen nothing yet.
You are now listening to Unpopular Popularity with Andrew Powell and John Stutsman here on New Media Central.
All right, so we talked a little bit about this before the show, about Donald Trump's cabinet, mainly about Sarah Palin, which was a very interesting conversation. I can imagine it's going to turn into an interesting conversation here on this show. But I do want to get to Elaine Chao first, Mitch McConnell's wife, as the Secretary of Transportation. Hiring Elaine Chao, in my opinion, is such a smart move. It's such a power move. First off, Trump has been accused of being a racist and a sexist his entire campaign. You've already hired several minorities and several women. You didn't hire another one in Elaine Chao to help debunk the racist, sexist stuff and try to bring the country together. It's a smart move. Then, not only is it a smart move, but it's also a power move because you hire the wife of the majority leader in Congress and you get power within a Republican establishment that was against you to begin with. It was such a smart move and such a power move by Donald Trump. Kelvin, I'm sure you want to flame me for it.
I don't. Looking at his goals, I'd imagine he'd want to pass legislation. So, tying himself to the Senate Majority Leader, I can see why he would do that. But I can't really jump on board with you saying that he's, breaking his sexist and, immigrants kind of feel. I don't see that because
there's nothing that he could do. You're the same way.
Wow.
You can't bring a horse to drinking water. The horse without drinking water.
No.
Same thing that applies here.
That's incredibly.
There's certainly things he could do.
He can't do anything. He cannot do anything to be proved to not be a racist.
Can.
Amazing.
He's literally putting. She's like a triple minority, and he's literally putting her in a high-powered office, and that's still not enough for you.
No, because she's the
blind.
wife of the Senate Majority Leader, the person who was, one of those people that caused the obstructionism for the past 8 years.
Okay, what about Nikki Haley, whose parents are from India? What about her, Nikki Haley? Ben Carson, black, but you call him a white supremacist even though he has black skin. There's nothing that he can do to turn this whole thing.
When did I do that? When did I do that? I didn't say that.
There isn't anything.
I had sent you something about Ben Carson. I had sent you something about Ben Carson, and you said, "Oh, he probably is."
No, I didn't. You said to me that
lies. Why are you lying?
No,
look at the Facebook messages. Am I gonna have to screenshot this?
You have to let me tell before you can call it a lie, okay? You said you questioned me. You said, "Do you think it's possible for black people to be a white supremacist?" And I said, "Sure." I mean, I didn't put a definitive on that.
No. That's not what it was at all. I had sent you a meme that said breaking news. It was a picture of Wolf Blitzer, and it said breaking news. Ben Carson, a white supremacist, has been named as Donald Trump's secretary or something like that. But it called him a white supremacist, and you said, laugh out loud, he probably is. That's how the message went.
So did I say he is? Because I don't recall this at all, but
you
right
said
now, from
he
your point of view,
probably is.
Probably is definitely, right?
Oh.
He's a black man.
The point is that you implied that he was a white supremacist, or he could possibly be a white supremacist. That's what you were implying.
Dude, I don't see the definitive in that statement.
Wait a minute, wait. Here's another thing. And then on top of that, one of our friends from high school had posted up something similar on one of my Facebook posts that he could possibly be a white supremacist, and you liked the post. That's what you did.
Who cares? What is that? That is not definitive. That is me laughing at a joking meme.
Man.
Wow. Wow.
Are you serious?
Wow.
You are not serious right now. That is your facts right there. Are you serious?
Yes, those are facts.
It's your
those
bias.
are facts.
It just shows you're biased in your narrative. Like it shows that's your bias. That's what it shows. It doesn't necessarily show a fact, but it shows a bias.
But I'm biased because I'm not ruling out the possibility of a black person that supports white causes. That makes me biased, right?
White causes is
you didn't say white causes. You said white supremacy. There's a difference between white causes and white supremacy.
Wrong.
What's wrong with white causes?
I didn't say that. You said white supremacy. I never said that.
What's wrong with supporting white causes?
What?
If we can support white causes, then surely we can support white causes. But it used to supremacy anyway.
What are you talking about?
And there's a difference.
John, what are you talking about?
He just said, I'll have to play this back. But he just said,
No, I heard what Kelvin said, what you said about what Kelvin said about white causes. But I'm confused of your question of what's wrong with white causes. I'm confused by this question.
He made it sound like the way he said it made it sound like there was something wrong for Ben Carson to be supportive of white causes, as if that alone makes him a white supremacist, and it doesn't.
I didn't say he was a white supremacist, so I don't know why y'all keep saying that. Like y'all need to find some proof of where I said that.
What the hell? When you say, he probably is, and then like another post that says the same thing, that's telling me that you probably think he's a white supremacist.
Well,
Kelvin,
in the
do you
same
disavow-
vein, if
do you
I
disavow
say
Kelvin?
if I say that Kobe is the best player, and you said, yeah, he probably is, does that mean that you mean that he is better than everybody
Why are you
else?
pivoting?
No.
Why are you pivoting?
I'm not
Why are
pivoting.
you? That's a
I'm just
leftist
pivoting.
move. That is a leftist move. You're pivoting
Wow.
right now. That's
That's
what
not
leftists
pivoting.
do, and that's what you're.
That's
John,
not
is
pivoting.
that not a
It is,
leftist move?
absolutely.
John, is that not
I'm
a
starting
leftist
to wonder
move?
if they. It is. I'm starting to wonder if they have a secret school they go to learn how to do this.
That's not pivoting. That's me being open-minded.
Just disavow.
If I said that all
Just-
black people were not white supremacists, that would me being closed-minded. But me saying, leaving the door open, like, well, maybe he is. I don't know. I haven't researched him. Then, yes, that's me being open-minded.
He's as African American as you can get. He is not a white.
I'm not
supremacist.
saying he's not black. When did I say he wasn't black?
I'm just telling you that it's impossible for him to be a white supremacist.
No, that's
Just
not
disavow
the
the
case at all.
comment. Just
To be black does not mean
comment.
you cannot be a white supremacist. That's ridiculous.
Okay, then you've got some serious problems then.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. But if I sit here and unequivocally ruled out the case that all black people could ever support white-only causes, that's ridiculous.
No. See, there you go again. You said causes. We're not talking about causes. Causes are just fine. We're talking about white supremacy. There's a difference. So don't use the word causes.
What's the difference? Sounds like a synonym.
Are you
to me.
kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It sounds like a synonym to me.
Wow.
Okay,
if that's
man,
the
I'm
case,
lost.
then black causes is black supremacy.
What the world are you talking about?
The exact same. Hey, now, Andrew, you're laughing. That must mean that you think I'm correct, right?
No, I'm laughing at I'm laughing at Kelvin's responses because I'm sitting here the same as Kelvin. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
That's what I want you to join in on this, Andrew, because I'm feeling like he's not understanding.
I don't know what
He's
you're
not
talking
making
about.
logical sense.
How am I supposed to contribute to something if I don't know what you're talking about? You're sitting here talking about white causes, and I'm confused on why you're bringing it up. Like, what white causes?
Why is he bringing it up? Why are you bringing up white causes? Because that's not what we're talking about.
Because you said that Ben Carson was a white supremacist. And I'm telling you, maybe he is. I don't know. I have not researched him, but it is not impossible just because he's
John,
black.
were you not talking about white causes earlier?
No. I brought up white causes because Kelvin brought up white causes, and I said no. You can't say white causes because we're talking about white supremacy.
But
and there's
I'm
a
still
difference.
confused. I've been thinking about this for a couple of minutes now. I've been questioning of what's wrong with white causes. Like, why does it have to be white causes or black causes? Why can't we do causes for human beings? Why do we have to be separated in groups? That's why I'm confused.
And that's all fine and dandy. But white causes is not the same as white supremacy. And he was equating the two as being equal. And they're not.
I mean, they seem like
all right,
synonyms
so
to me
let's
because
ask
white.
a straight-up question then. Kelvin, do you think that Ben Carson is a white supremacist?
Truthfully, I don't know. I have not researched the man, so I can't sit here and say definitively what his beliefs are. But I'm not going to sit here and say because he's black that it's impossible for him to be a white supremacist. I mean, that's kind of crazy, just logically
all right,
speaking.
So,
if you don't
so
know somebody,
explain to me, and I'm just curious, but explain to me how a black person is a white supremacist.
Well,
Just
no.
you saying it makes me laugh.
No, I mean, truthfully, it was joked about in the Chappelle show. But, I mean, it's basically
but that doesn't mean it's real.
Of course.
No, I said it's joked about. But the case is a white supremacist is someone who pushes the idea that whites are superior to all others around them. The case that whites are better by birth, not by merit, but by birth. And, I mean, I don't know every single black person, so there's no way for me to sit here and say definitively that that's not the case.
All right, let's move on. Sarah Palin, here's what everything was said about Sarah Palin earlier on Facebook between a group message between us three to the audience. John had made a statement that he felt like that Sarah Palin would be a good Secretary of Veteran Affairs.
No.
Me
You're
and
already
Kelvin.
starting off wrong.
That's what the conversation was about. That is exactly what it was about.
I said
and then me and Kelvin said to you, responded, why would you say some moronic stuff like that? So let's give you the floor, John. Why
That's not what you said
would
either.
Sarah Palin be good for our veterans? Explain this to me.
No. Here, I'm going to explain what that whole you took that whole
God, just answer the damn question.
Completely out of context. And I will give you guys some credit. You never said that was an idiotic comment that I made. You never said that. I don't know why you're trying to make yourself look
well,
bad.
Well, it is an idiotic
whatever.
comment. Well, my apologies for not saying it, but I'll say it now. It was an idiotic comment. Absolutely.
Here's the thing. I never said she'd be great. And I said she would be okay. It would not be a disaster. That's exactly what I said. She would not be a disaster. She would be okay. Are there other people that I could see doing it better? Absolutely. But I don't think she would be a disaster at it. She'd be okay. Absolutely.
She doesn't think,
so you took
John.
what I said. No, she does think. She just doesn't talk well. So people think that she's not thinking because she doesn't talk well. There's a difference.
I think you could run a Ouija board over a American census and find a better candidate for the Veterans Affairs Secretary.
No. But I will
really
say,
do.
if we're going to talk about cabinet positions that I don't agree with necessarily, is the DeVos one. Because I've been doing some more research on that. And that one, I'm just not too sure that was a great pick. But
which one was it?
For education cabinet position, he picked DeVos, and she really has no experience in public education whatsoever.
But isn't that the one that I talked about
Trump has
last
no
week?
experience being a president. So why bring that up?
Yeah, I don't know. I just looked at her more, and I'm just not so sure. He may know more about her. Trump may know more about her than I do, and he probably does, and that's fine. I'm going to side with Trump.
Wait a minute. Didn't I question her last week, and you were defending her?
You did. You did. You absolutely did. And then I did some more research because of that. Yeah, absolutely. No, I have no problem saying that I'm going back on that one a little bit. And I'm not, but I'm saying that's probably a worse pick in my eyes than Sarah Palin for Department of Education. But I don't think Sarah Palin, or Department of Veterans Affairs, but I don't think Sarah Palin is in real consideration anyway, to be honest with you. I don't think she is.
Let's hope not, because she's not good at talking in front of small or large groups, articulating sentences together. She's not good.
No, she's not very articulate. I like it. I think it's entertaining. I can identify with it. But no, it is. She's not articulate. I agree with that.
I'm just not comfortable with Sarah Palin being in control of the budget. I don't know, a national budget. It's just something about that doesn't correlate with my logic. So I can't sit here and defend Palin. But we all can agree, though, that well, let's move on here. We all can agree that Mitt Romney, though, that would be a complete moron move.
Awful.
That awful. We don't need Mitt Romney. We all can agree on that.
No way.
I'm on the fence, man. I really am, because I think that before the election, he said that Trump was a phony, and he was calling him out. And I thought that took a lot of courage, even from somebody in the Republican side of the debate.
Oh,
and then on top of that,
it took a lot of courage. Wait a minute, it took a lot of courage to go after somebody that everybody else is already going after.
I know, right? That's real. That's courage there.
As the party candidate, yes, that did take a lot of courage. What are you talking about? He was the one representing the party, going against Hillary Clinton, who everybody
the whole Republican establishment was against him.
None of the Republicans liked him. None of the Republicans. And this is the funny thing is, and I've said this before, Donald Trump only ran as a Republican because he had to. He is not a Republican candidate. He is not going to be a Republican president. He only ran.
It doesn't matter.
He had to.
Hey, it doesn't matter what he thinks. It matters that he is on the Republican platform. When you voted for Donald Trump, there was a Republican, or at least an R beside his name. So he took that position.
I don't care about the R. I do not care about the R's and the L's.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
I really don't. I tend to vote Democrat in local elections, believe it or not.
But just talking about Romney, from what I've heard, the competition for Secretary of State was between him and Rudy Giuliani. And, I mean, for somebody that's representing our country at a national level to all foreign heads of state, I would much rather see someone level-headed who I disagree with, like Mitt Romney, as opposed to somebody who flies off the cuff frequently, like Rudy Giuliani. I just think that he's better articulated. He presents himself better. He's well-mannered. I think Mitt Romney is better out of those two. So he's not my first pick, but, I respect that.
Well, see, the thing is, in that position, I want someone that's got a little fire in him. And Mitt Romney is not level-headed. Have you seen the comments he's made? Have you listened to his speeches? He is anything but level-headed.
I mean,
you are level-headed. He's not.
The fact that he was able to go against his party during the election process, I thought that took a lot of great deal of courage.
He didn't go against his party. He didn't go against his party.
Courage.
What are you talking about? Yes,
I mean, this is amazing. All right. I mean, the fact that you're saying courage, I mean, that is stunning to me. Up next, we
I can't believe we have a liberal liking Romney.
I mean, yeah, it's amazing, and he's factually inaccurate about everything. But we
have one more secretary though.
State.
Did you get the other secretary? Secretary of Defense?
I can't get on the side of Mitt Romney.
I can't either.
But Indiana, the state of Indiana, we get to John State, home state, up next, talking about this carrier deal. Sarah Palin actually accused it of being crony capitalism. I look at it more of well, you could look at it as crony capitalism, but mainly trickle down economics. We get to all that nonsense.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. The era of economic surrender will finally be over. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism.
They have gotten the political establishment and the media establishment to become pure, wanton henchmen of totalitarianism.
If you were a foreign power looking to weaken America, you couldn't do better than Hillary Clinton's economic agenda.
I think what the Chinese have done is really smart.
The skyscrapers went up in Beijing and many other cities around the world, while the factories and neighborhoods crumbled right here in Detroit.
It's all training us to accept less, lowering expectations, a post-industrial world, a new dark age. That's what the UN Biological Diversity Assessment 1996 calls for.
When we abandoned the policy of America first, we started rebuilding other countries instead of our own.
Not a world, Winston, that gets more beautiful and more technological and stronger. A world that gets uglier and stupider and more stunted.
That the government should allow Hillary Clinton to become president of the United States.
I voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, I voted for Hillary. I guess I have to since I'm working for her as well.
You want an image of the future, Winston? It's a boot stomping on a human face forever.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Women are discriminated against in all of these countries she took money against. Gays and lesbians are either executed or punished severely. They're mistreated. She claims to be their champion.
Don't look at me, Winston, and see the black circles around my eyes and see how ugly and weak I am, expressing myself and dying that I torture people 18 hours a day and I have a horrible life. That's the beauty of the satanic evil of the priest of power ripping apart humanity. We're here to hurt humans. We're here to suck your guts out.
Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism.
Yo, you want sushi? I got sushi. I got the best sushi. This area is dry, man. You know that. I know that. Ain't nobody selling but me. I got tuna. I got salmon. I got sweet shrimp. I got the finest sashimi this area has seen in years. You need me and I need you. Let's make this work. You buy some sashimi, I'll throw in some rice paper, man. Totally free. Gratis. I got everything. Even California rolls, baby.
You wouldn't buy your sushi from this guy, so why would you buy your marijuana from him? MarijuanaDoctors.com is the only service that connects patients with real doctors for medical marijuana recommendations. Simple, confidential, safe. Visit MarijuanaDoctors.com or call 1-866-996-9333. That's MarijuanaDoctors.com, 1-866-996-9333. Book your appointment today.
I have not only seen but lived the marvels of what historians have called the American century. For while I take inspiration from the past, like most Americans, I live for the future. For just a few minutes, I hope you will let me talk about a country that is forever young. Fondest hope for each one of you, and especially for the young people here, that you will love your country not for her power or wealth, but for her selflessness and idealism. May each of you have the heart to conceive, the understanding to direct, and the hand to execute works that will make the world a little better for your having been here. Renew our pledge to day by day, person by person, make our country and the world a better place to live. When the nations of the world turn to us and say, America, you are the model of freedom and prosperity, we can turn to them and say, you ain't seen nothing yet.
You are now listening to Unpopular Popularity with Andrew Powell and John Stutsman here on New Media Central.
So in Indiana this past week, there was an announcement made that the company Carrier Corporation will keep 1,000 jobs, over 1,000 jobs in the state of Indiana, due to a deal made with Trump. I've seen a lot of praise for it, but I've also seen a lot of hate for it. And I want to ask the communist of the show, Kelvin Gravely. I want to ask the communist of the show what he thinks about this.
Well,
but I want to ask him. Well, hold on a minute. Let me lay everything else on the table. And that one, in the communist thing, that was just a joke for the audience. I'm just joking around. He's not a communist. But Carrier will be receiving over $7 million in tax cuts and incentives in order to keep over 1,000 jobs in the state of Indiana, $7 million of taxpayer money. So, Kelvin, you were a big Bernie guy in the primaries. You're a big Bernie guy in general. What is your response to this evidence of trickle-down economics?
I can see the pros for it. It's keeping jobs in the state of Indiana. And I can see how a lot of people who would be affected by that would totally be on board with him fighting for that. But just looking at it from a constitutional aspect, usually the president doesn't directly negotiate with companies and say, hey, if you stay here, I'm going to give you money, which, the tax breaks is considered money. So what if another company was to do that? Would they expect the same treatment? So it's just like, is this a slippery slope or not? I'm not sure. That's my only thoughts on it, really. It might be dangerous in the future.
John, you're in the state of Indiana. What is everybody's responses up there about?
Okay, well, here's the thing. Indiana is overwhelmingly Trump state. Like, it is ridiculously Trump. So everyone here loves it.
Birthplace of the KKK, that doesn't surprise me.
Whatever. No, it's overwhelmingly Trump. It was good news. For us in Indiana, it was a campaign promise that he made, because he did promise this. And he's already made that promise before he's even took the oath. That's huge in Indiana, because Indiana is big about, just our culture is big about, if you make a promise or, your word, you need to keep your word. It's huge in Indiana. That right there will probably be enough that come re-election time, when Trump says, hey, look what I kept this promise for Indiana. He's already won Indiana, basically, for the next election. As far as it being crony, and, here's the thing, and this has been in the news here, and you guys probably don't know because it wasn't a national concern, but Pence, before the election, has tried to keep Carrier here. He's tried to offer them tax credits and abatements and whatnot to keep them. because they are good-paying jobs. But they didn't want to hear it. And then Pence was on Hannity the other night. He said what it was. He said, yes, we gave them the tax benefits that we had already offered them before. But the difference for Carrier was the fact that as a president, Trump called them. He cared enough to make that phone call, and he promised that he was going to change things in the economy to make it to where they could have a stable company in the United States. So it was a combination of the two. I think it's great. It was over 1,100. It's over 1,100 now that they've kept. Plus, they've also now, Carrier has made some concessions now where they are going to invest in some research and development here in Indiana as well that they, of course, were not going to do beforehand because they were pulling out completely. So there's a trickle down from it. It may have cost us $7 million, but in the long term, those 1,100 families are going to spend a whole heck of a lot of money in our economy. Plus, Carrier is now in themselves investing in the
So
Indiana
let me ask
economy.
you this, John, because this is the biggest concern from the left with this entire thing. They're afraid that this is going to open a Pandora's box, which then leads all these other companies across the United States to be like, hey, we're going to leave if you don't give us tax cuts and incentives either. So it's opened up a Pandora's box possibly that every other company is going to ask for the same thing, and it could possibly drain the economy as well as the middle class. That is the concern from the left, and I think that it is a valid concern. That's why it's hard for me to take a side on this, because I understand what he did. I will say that if this was Obama probably would have paid him $14 million instead of $7 million in taxpayer money. So I could give Trump that. But as far as this whole thing, it's hard for me to take one side. It's hard for me to take one side because I can see both sides of the argument. So as far as what the left is concerned, how do you respond to that?
Absolutely. No, I get that people are kind of concerned about that. But my thing is what people have to realize is that the tax abatement part, the tax credits are actually coming from the state of Indiana. Pence is still our governor right now, okay? So he still has control over that as our governor. He is not the vice president of the United States yet. And those are tax things that he offered to them already once before. So he's not – they're going to have to make a difference. And the companies should be able to make this clear-cut difference as well. The states can do whatever they want to with taxes. This is not a federal government thing. All Trump really did in this matter was call Carrier and say, hey, I was serious in what in my campaign said. I'm really going to do these changes. You can believe it. That's all Trump did. That's all he did.
Well, I have a liberal question though. Usually Republicans tout like free market economy, and this company can do whatever they need to increase their revenue, increase their profits. But if the federal government is involving themselves in what a individual company does, isn't this kind of scooting away from the free market ideals?
Well, no. This deal is the money part of this deal, and this is what I keep stressing to people. The money part of this deal is all coming from the state of Indiana, and I think the state absolutely have the duty to try to do that. Try to keep the companies here and lure them in with tax abatements, whatever they can do. Absolutely, and that's state. That's not federal, and the states have that on them to do that.
Though? But is that free market even if the state was involved themselves?
Yeah, but can't you also make the argument of though that jobs, keeping jobs in the United States is the number one priority, not respecting the quote unquote free market slogan?
And right now it is. I would agree with you, Andrew, as well. Because I think right now that is kind of the priority because the job situation is so grim. So sure. But it doesn't go against free market, I don't think. That's a good question, though, Andrew. I mean,
that is a good question.
Kelvin. Both of you. I mean, great question, but I don't think it does. And surely, and I know that Trump in his position hasn't went too far. Like, I think presidents should have always been doing this, saying, hey, you can leave if you want, but you're not just going to leave and then sell these air conditioners to us at a cheap price because you're getting cheap labor down there. I'm for the tariffs and whatnot.
Well, truthfully, I don't know if you could do that. I don't know if you could increase tariffs because we are still a part of NAFTA. So If they were to create
Well,
these air
that's not
conditions
gonna
in
happen.
Mexico, yeah.
Yeah,
so
right
with
now we
NAFTA
can't.
in place, I don't know that you could.
Yeah, no, NAFTA's going to either change drastically or be done away with. Already been said. He's already talked to Mexico about it. So NAFTA will not be an issue. It is now, absolutely. But we're still under Obama right now, so things are a lot worse. Things are a lot better come January.
Up next, we're going to talk about this terrorist attack that happened at Ohio State. They ended up being ISIS-related, of course. Doesn't shock me whatsoever. But we get to all of that next.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. The era of economic surrender will finally be over. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism.
They have gotten the political establishment and the media establishment to become pure, wanton henchmen of totalitarianism.
If you were a foreign power looking to weaken America, you couldn't do better than Hillary Clinton's economic agenda.
I think what the Chinese have done is really smart.
The skyscrapers went up in Beijing and many other cities around the world, while the factories and neighborhoods crumbled right here in Detroit.
It's all training us to accept less, lowering expectations, a post-industrial world, a new dark age. That's what the UN Biological Diversity Assessment 1996 calls for.
When we abandoned the policy of America first, we started rebuilding other countries instead of our own.
Not a world, Winston, that gets more beautiful and more technological and stronger. A world that gets uglier and stupider and more stunted.
That the government should allow Hillary Clinton to become president of the United States.
I voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, I voted for Hillary. I guess I have to since I'm working for her as well.
You want an image of the future, Winston? It's a boot stomping on a human face forever.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Women are discriminated against in all of these countries she took money against. Gays and lesbians are either executed or punished severely. They're mistreated. She claims to be their champion.
Don't look at me, Winston, and see the black circles around my eyes and see how ugly and weak I am, expressing myself and dying that I torture people 18 hours a day, and I have a horrible life. That's the beauty of the satanic evil of the priest of power, ripping apart humanity. We're here to hurt humans. We're here to suck your guts out.
Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism.
Yo, you want sushi? I got sushi. I got the best sushi. This area's dry, man. You know that. I know that. Ain't nobody selling but me. I got tuna. I got salmon. I got sweet shrimp. I got the finest sashimi this area has seen in years. You need me and I need you. Let's make this work. You buy some sashimi, I'll throw in some rice paper, man. Totally free. Gratis. I got everything. Even California rolls, baby.
You wouldn't buy your sushi from this guy, so why would you buy your marijuana from him? MarijuanaDoctors.com is the only service that connects patients with real doctors for medical marijuana recommendations. Simple, confidential, safe. Visit MarijuanaDoctors.com or call 1-866-996-9333. That's MarijuanaDoctors.com, 1-866-996-9333. Book your appointment today.
I have not only seen but lived the marvels of what historians have called the American century. For while I take inspiration from the past, like most Americans, I live for the future. For just a few minutes, I hope you will let me talk about a country that is forever young. Fondest hope for each one of you, and especially for the young people here, that you will love your country not for her power or wealth, but for her selflessness and idealism. May each of you have the heart to conceive, the understanding to direct, and the hand to execute works that will make the world a little better for your having been here. Renew our pledge to day by day, person by person, make our country and the world a better place to live. When the nations of the world turn to us and say, America, you are the model of freedom and prosperity, we can turn to them and say, you ain't seen nothing yet.
You are now listening to Unpopular Popularity with Andrew Powell and John Stutsman here on New Media Central.
Alright, so there was a terrorist attack in Ohio State. We were just discussing this over the commercial break, and we got with a little bit of a debate over the commercial break, so we're going to continue that now. And you're going to hear a lot of PC nonsense from Kelvin Gravely on this, so if you are to the right and newmediacentral.net is a right-wing based website, be prepared for this, because you're about to hear a lot of political correctness, and it might bother you. But this is how leftists think. And I'm glad that Kelvin is on the show because he gives us the leftist mindset. We're all entertained by the leftist mindset. I think we can all agree on this if we're on the right. Well, it's the truth. I mean, it's a fact. But if you don't know the story, there was a Somalian refugee who has not been here in the country that long, who was out stabbing different people at Ohio State University. And what was it, John? Was it a tape that he said it was ISIS, or did he leave a letter? What was it?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the form of the media was, but he's left several clues behind, basically. So that people would know.
I believe he also had a Facebook and a Twitter with ISIS-related sayings on it.
He did.
And all this different stuff. So this is the situation that we're dealing with, another ISIS-related terrorist attack here in the United States, and we obviously have a radical Islam problem, but people on the left continue to deny this. You have people like Hillary Clinton who are saying that Muslims have nothing to do with terrorism, when, yes, they do. ISIS is called the Islamic State. There you go. That's hit number one. Also, she also went on to fund ISIS and build up ISIS to help contribute with all this nonsense, according to WikiLeaks. But I do want to get to Kelvin on this, because Kelvin still is showing sympathy towards the Islamic terrorists, and I'm a little bit confused of why. So, Kelvin, go ahead and spit your thoughts out about this terrorist attack that happened at Ohio State.
Okay, just to clear it up, I am not sympathizing with a terrorist. And I do agree that this was terrorism, domestic terrorism, as any case with the KKK would be considered. But
this is
my
not
main question, why wouldn't it be domestic?
How many people have the KKK killed this year? How many people have the KKK killed this year?
I mean, I'm uncertain. I haven't looked up those statistics. But
okay,
they have
so
been
why
an
say a statement like that if you're not? But why say a statement like that if you're not informed on it?
Because they have been a domestic terrorist group as labeled by the federal government for.
But they're not out here killing people now
years.
like radical Islamists.
No, they're not publicized because that's known to be the case. Everybody knows the KKK. This is the new mainstream thing where they're jumping on this Muslim terrorist thing.
Wait a minute here. Let me jump in here just real quick. You cannot say the KKK is anything near like how ISIS is. They're not going around driving cars with knives into people. Like, no.
Are you serious?
They're not blowing up gay nightclubs.
The KKK is responsible for all sorts of domestic terrorist attacks through our nation's history since the end of the Civil War.
History.
I mean,
what about 2016?
No,
what about 2016?
Dude, they are still an organization. They're still active. They have a chapter in our hometown in Martinsville, Virginia. They are
sure
still
they're active. But they don't do the kind of stuff that ISIS does. They don't go blow up gay nightclubs. They don't go and cause shootings at workplaces and run people over and knife them at college campuses. They don't do that anymore.
I mean, the thing is, we're not certain because they're not publicized. But a lot of times, the KKK infiltrate the police departments and the courtrooms. They are in our positions of power. So what they do is, what's not reported on. We're not certain of what they do currently.
You know what's funny?
But what they've done, what?
That's exactly what the left wants to do with Muslims. They want them to get into the positions of power. They want them to be into police officers. They want them to be everywhere so that all of a sudden no one knows about it. So what you're describing is actually what is going on with Muslims in our country.
I don't see an issue with diversity. I really don't see an issue with diversity at all. So you're saying that Muslims should not be in the police department? I think that's absurd. Having just one race of the KKK.
So are you just saying? So you're saying that KKK members don't need to be a police officer?
No, I didn't say that. What I said is there shouldn't be just one race in the police department, as the KKK would like it, because they support white supremacy.
But wait a minute, though. Wait a minute, though.
Off the subject.
Hell no.
I want you to
But
go back
wait a
to
minute,
Andrew.
though. Do you think that a member of the KKK should be allowed to be in the police department, John?
I've had this debate with people before. Here's my thing with the KKK. Do I agree with them? Absolutely not. I cannot stand the KKK. I loathe the KKK. However, in their current state, what they currently do right now, which is basically they do peaceful protesting. They don't cause anyone harm. All they're doing is exercising their right to free speech, and they do have that right. You are allowed in this country to believe in what the KKK believes in and not be in the KKK. That is your right. You absolutely have that right. You absolutely have the right to talk about it freely and openly. That is your right. So I don't like what they do. I don't believe what they believe in, but, man, I have a hard time taking that right away from them just because. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you don't want to take American freedom away from them, but at the same time, when you're in a public service as a police officer, which is supposed to serve, and you're a member of an organization that's biased towards one race of people, that can create problems. Somebody's in the KKK, they do not need to be in the police department or any form of government. No, that does not need to happen whatsoever. I will feel the exact same way about a radical Islamist, and I feel the exact same way about a member of the Black Panthers. It goes for all of them.
Okay, then that's fair, and I can go with that. I just want to be careful when I say that because there is a slippery slope. Like, you just have to be careful, and for the rights reason, not because I agree with what they do.
You don't need to be in public service when you're committing rape. No, we do not need to be. That does not need to be an American freedom.
Then that's fair.
I agree.
But I don't think
the
racism
KKK,
is necessarily
they specifically are white supremacists. That is their main point, is that white people are superior to all others. So there's no way to exclude that from their definitions.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's...
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you there. But I want you to get back to the original thing that Andrew had asked you. Let's get back to the actual Ohio State topic specifically.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as campus violence goes, domestic terrorism in general, I feel that
that's where you're wrong, though.
What?
We do have to, this is the point, this is where we diverge. It is not domestic terrorism. This guy was a refugee. He was not an American citizen. It's not domestic terrorism.
That's another thing. I'm uncertain of how long he's been here. I mean, if he's been here since he was,
wasn't a citizen.
Since he was 8 years old, who knows? That's as much American as me, apart from the paperwork.
No, he was a refugee, so I know he's not been here that long.
I mean, I don't know. I'm unable to find anything on it, so I don't want to sit here and say that he just left the ISIS training camp yesterday. I don't know that.
It wasn't like that either. I think it was relatively soon. And this is out there. But he was a refugee. He was not a United States citizen. Therefore,
I
just
looked it up. He was not, yes, is what John just said. He was not a registered citizen whatsoever. He was not even legally.
Oh, right. I knew he was a refugee, but if he was enrolled in Ohio State, then that was he was legally here as a refugee. But
he
my
enrolled?
point was,
You do
I
not
don't know
have
how.
to be. No. That's where the left is so wrong, because that's not how it works. You can absolutely be here illegally and go to college. It's done every day.
So you don't have to enroll in college to get in?
Should you be? Yes, I believe the rules technically say that you probably have to be, but things have been laxed so much that is not the case. You absolutely can go to college without being legally here. It happens all the time.
Well, when I enrolled, they asked for my information. So I don't know Ohio
It can be
State's
fake.
procedures, but I don't know about Ohio State's procedures, but okay, sure, maybe. That's a lot of hypothesis. I don't know this, and I don't know how long he's been here. I'm saying if he was raised in America, he's raised around American ideals. Like, I wouldn't sit here and say that he's just right off the bat ISIS because he's a Muslim and because he had a Facebook rant. I mean,
said he was
like,
ISIS.
I had a right, but the guy from the Miami nightclub, the gay nightclub, he said the same thing, and it was proved that he wasn't a part of ISIS. So
ISIS
again,
was
these
claiming
people
it was them. ISIS themselves.
I don't recall that at all. I remember his dad specifically saying that he was not in ISIS.
No.
The person he lived with.
I'm talking about the Ohio State thing. I'm not talking about the guy.
Right,
no. And you're right about the guy in Florida. But I'm talking about ISIS has claimed this about this guy here in Ohio State.
Well, perhaps. I have not seen the evidence. That's my main thing. I don't have the evidence. So what I said off the air was that if I go and slap a lady and yell Wu-Tang, does that make me a Wu-Tang Clan member?
No.
It doesn't.
All I'm saying is you can't.
Though that is such a ridiculous
All
statement.
I'm saying, and this is besides that point. All I'm saying is you cannot say it was domestic terrorism. You can say it was terrorism. You can't say it was foreign or domestic. You can just say it was terrorism. And that was my whole point. And divulging that.
Sure. I mean, we'll go with that, but I mean, it happened in America, and it was terrorism. But if you want to not call it domestic, sure. I think it doesn't really matter.
He wasn't an American citizen, though. He was not a legal citizen of the United States.
He wasn't, no, but he lived in America. It happened on American soil.
That does not make it domestic.
Yes,
it happened domestically. It happened domestically, yes, but it doesn't make it domestic.
And ISIS is a foreign ideology, too. Like, ISIS is a foreign ideology. Like, this is not domestic terrorism.
But I want you to go back to your point, because I think you're going to make a point that people need to hear, and that is that you don't condone it. So,
I mean,
or that you don't.
absolutely.
You don't agree with it, rather.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have a college campus to be a place where a person goes to, kind of fluff their resume and get skills and knowledge to better themselves in the future. So it's a place of kind of building up yourself. It shouldn't be a place where you have to worry about the safety of your life or that of your loved ones. That should be just a safe zone in a sense. And I don't think that violence of any nature should be there. So, no, there's no point that I think that violence is the answer, especially not in a place of learning like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. So let's go around the room here. How do we deal with radical Islam, John? How do we deal with it?
It's a multi-step approach. I'm with Trump on this. You have to have extreme vetting, and we need to stop the flow completely until we can get that system in place. We need to stop accepting all these refugees just so simply. We need to fix our immigration because they can come up through Mexico. So we need to fix that. We need to build a wall. We need to have better intelligence. We need to bolster our intelligence community. And we do need to try to understand a little bit, not in the sense that we need to agree with them, but understand so we can know how to better combat them. And then we need to just go over there and wipe them out. We need to stop doing this little pansy, whatever we're doing now. We just need to go there and end it. Russia kind of has the right idea about this, but we don't like Russia doing it right now for whatever reason. We need to let Russia do what they're doing. Well, right, whatever. That's what but they're taking care of ISIS more than we are. Not good. So we just need to go over there and obliterate them and be done, and then pull out.
All right. So pretty much what you're saying is that you're like Donald Trump, where you just want to bleep the hell out of them. All right. So
yeah,
John
and then be done.
John
and
wants
then be done.
John just wants to bomb the hell out of the Middle East to get rid of ISIS that way. Kelvin, how would you deal with radical Islam?
Well, Bernie Sanders mentioned this earlier in his campaign, and then Jill Stein had mentioned it. And I think at a certain point you even had the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson, mention that we need to quit funding ISIS. So right now we're giving money to people in the Middle East that fund this violence throughout. Like you have Israel getting, I want to say it's close to $2 billion a year. You have Saudi Arabia getting money. You got the United Immigrant States. You have so many places in the Middle East that kind of fund and contribute to the terrorism of the area, and they're getting money from us, and they're also getting arms from us because we're the world's largest arms dealer. So those would be pretty basic steps. I mean, just quit giving them ammunition to throw at us. I mean, that's pretty basic. But on top of that, we need to quit our drone programs that is continually bombing those nations, because at the moment we don't even have full-fledged guilty members that we bomb. We bomb suspects. Suspects are not guilty. They have not been proven to be guilty of any crime. So we're killing people, and we don't even know that they're guilty of anything, which means that we're probably just hurting family members. And a lot of times we have been proven to have killed women, children, family members, bombing hospitals. And that's just going to create further sympathizers for ISIS in the future. Because if you kill my parents or my brother or my daughter's children, whatever, I'm probably not going to like you, regardless of what you tell me. There's no way I'm going to be cool with that. So we're building these enemies, and we're arming them at the same time, and I think that's silly from any perspective.
All right, so here's what I would go ahead and do with ISIS. And I'm pretty much on the side with John of this one. I'm not going to take the peace people out because I have no sympathy for a murderous terrorist group. But first off, you bombed the living bleep out of them. Japan got the message. They eventually got the message. ISIS will eventually get the message as well. You bombed the hell out of the Middle East. You weakened the core of all of this. As far as what Kelvin says, well, what about the brothers and the daughters and all this stuff, all these people who are going to sympathize and eventually turn to radical Islam? You bombed the hell out of the Middle East. Chances are they're probably going to be dead, too. Little babies as well. I hate to say it, but that is the reality of the situation. Facts don't care about you.
Reality of war.
Live by that. Yeah,
and you realize it's a war crime, right?
Aren't they already murdering people? Isn't this already a war crime? Aren't they already murdering people? I mean, I don't understand the point of a war crime.
They're not abiding by the rules either.
But considering we're part of the Nuremberg, we're part of the Nuremberg trials.
So we have to follow the rules, but they don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah, I disagree.
I mean,
I'm with Andrew.
Considering we vastly outnumber, outman, outmoney them in every field. We have more technology.
Exactly.
We don't even have to send people.
Yeah,
we don't even have to send people to the ground to murder them. Do you realize this? So yes, we have to hold ourselves to higher standards. Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
No,
not when innocent Americans are being murdered. Not when innocent Americans are being murdered. Absolutely not. Yeah, we would definitely have to agree to disagree on that. You're taking the PC way out, and Kelvin, I'm honestly disappointed though that you're taking the politically correct way out. Radical Islam is a problem. We need to agree on this.
Listen, when 9/11 happened, we had I want to say it was between 2,000 and 3,000 people killed in the bombings. So that was absolutely not okay. But then later, when we went to war with Iraq, who had nothing to do with it, we ended up killing over 500,000 people. So I see what you're saying, that Americans are dying, but I mean, we're killing 500,000 to 2,000 or 3,000. That is in no way justified. We are the criminals in this case.
All right.
There is. Listen,
wait a
there
minute.
is defense, but once we go to them, that is no longer defense. That is offense.
Yes, let's move on. We can all agree to disagree on that one. Maybe we'll continue that discussion at a later date. But I do want to get to this real quick while we have still a few minutes to go. Everybody on the show is familiar with Keith Ellison, correct? New chairman of the Democratic Party, Keith Ellison?
Yes.
Vaguely, yeah.
Kelvin, you're familiar. Okay, so Keith Ellison, and I'm a little bit confused of why the liberal media is not talking about this. It's not fitting their agenda, so of course they're not going to talk about this. But this hasn't got any Spotlight News at all. We like to call Donald Trump a racist, but yet we don't want to say anything about Keith Ellison agreeing that the Jews were responsible for 9/11, or they not responsible, but they benefited from it.
Right? You would never have all this discrimination against religious minorities, but for 9/11. I mean, you had it, but you didn't have it to the degree that we have it now. 9/11 is this juggernaut event in American history, and it allows. I mean, it's almost like the Reichstag fire kind of reminds me of that. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Who benefited from 9/11? Who benefited from 9/11? Who benefited from 9/11?
Well, I mean, you and I both know.
Yeah, boys.
But the thing is that after the Reichstag was burned, they blamed the communists for it, and it put the leader of that country in a position where he could basically have authority to do whatever he wanted.
All right, and Keith Ellison is also a former radical Islamist. He was in the Nation of Islam, and he spoke some pretty far left nonsense, some pretty racist nonsense, and a lot of it has been anti-Jews. And this one right here is him agreeing that the Jews benefited from 9/11. So I'm a little bit confused of why the liberal media is not talking about any of this. Does anybody care to explain why the liberal media is not talking about this but continuing to call Trump a racist with no factual evidence? Is anybody curious?
Yeah, I'm raising my hand. It's just the normal double standard that they always have. I mean, it doesn't fit their narrative. So of course, but it didn't there. I thought I heard something about this too, as that he previously supported the KKK or was in the KKK, or he has KKK ties somehow. I don't remember exactly what it was. But it's even worse than just the Jewish thing. Yeah, of course they're not going to talk about it. I mean, of course they're not.
Kelvin, are you a big concerned with double standards in the media?
Yeah, see, I don't know how to respond to it because I'm not that familiar with what he's referring to, but I think there is this thing on the right, and to be frank, with Hillary Clinton too, and her members of the left, where they just seem to ignore or completely disregard any crimes that Israel's committing strictly because they're Israel. So I don't know exactly about what he is talking about benefiting from 9/11, but I do know that Israel does commit war crimes on the daily, and they've been proven to do that towards Palestinians. So I don't want to give them a blanket get-out-of-jail-free card. They are not completely innocent. But as far as this goes, I don't want to, I don't know enough about it. But just as far as the Democratic National Committee chair, I don't support him to be that anyway. I was supporting Nina Turner because a guy named Tim Canova, who ran in Florida against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, he had actually mentioned that she should be the DNC chair, and he's backing her because the two people that were running for it right now, who are Keith Ellison and then Tulsi Gabbard, they're both in Congress. So he's saying it kind of gets a conflict of interest if they have both a job in Senate and as the chair. So he's trying to get this person who does not have another position like Nina Turner. You see what I'm saying? So really, Keith Ellison isn't on my radar to begin with.
Well, you know why, though? You know why you don't know about it? Is because the media's not talking about it. That's why you don't know about it.
Of course not. CNN is a shield network. MSNBC is a shield network, and people don't understand. See, here's the thing.
You don't
because
know about
a lot of people accuse Fox News of being biased, who, by the way, have the highest ratings out of any mainstream media outlet. But they accuse Fox News of being biased to the right. But what I have seen is that Fox News has been the only one telling the truth. CNN colluded with Hillary. MSNBC colluded with Hillary. All these different outlets colluded with Hillary. Were lying. And it's a bunch of nonsense. And the only people who are even covering a little bit of this Keith Ellison nonsense is Fox News. Say what you want. They're biased to the right. They're biased towards conservatives. Say all that nonsense. But they're the only ones telling the bleeping truth. We'll be back next Saturday.
You are now listening to Unpopular Popularity with Andrew Powell and John Stutsman here on New Media Central.
Black activists
activist, on activist. I hold she the LSD, but that ain't for the mattress. Ask your bitch, my stroke is immaculate. I send her insane, I'm flashy as an acid trip. Just me and a rusty burner. Shout out to Smurda, shout out to Rowdy. My mind is cloudy, stay with iron around me like Robert Downey. Don't you doubt me, king like LeBron. Watch me trick my mouthpiece. Run it through now, couple cans in my mouth like what's up, Doc? I be talking to my nine like what's up, Doc?
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.